Welcome back, and now it's time to dive into the actual software and start the real meat of the training here. We're going to start with some broad themes about the software, just to give you a sense and give you a 30,000-foot view of what is going on. So the first thing that I want to call your attention to is that I've opened the software in a browser. There is nothing to install for end users. Everything runs in a web browser, even if you're using it on your phone or a tablet or putting it on a big screen on the wall. Anything that you run it on, it runs in the browser. Now, there's some huge benefits to that. Number one is that it does run on any device. It doesn't matter whether it's a PC or a Mac or Linux. It doesn't matter if it's Android or iOS, or even something that hasn't been invented yet. So what we care about is running everywhere for end users, even inside of machines, embedded in things, anything that can run a browser. So that's the first sort of core concept to understand, is that you're always going to be opening it in the browser. The second one is that it's a responsive web application. What that means is it runs on any size screen, and you don't have to worry about it, even if you're the administrator, in configuring screens that look good on any size device. So if you'll notice on my screen, I'm going to shrink the browser down on the left. And as I do, you're going to see it'll automatically adjust itself and figure out what size it should be. Okay, so as it goes down, you'll see eventually it even moves the navigation bar out of the way, and the screen on the left and the screen on the right look the same. Okay, so it knows what to do. It doesn't matter. This is true of individual visualizations as well. So if I pick a specific visualization and I want to put it on any size screen I can. If it's a wide screen, that's okay. If it's a really narrow and tall screen, that's okay. If it's anything in between, that's all right. And any of these can be embedded in other applications as well. So we'll talk about that later. So that's the second thing to understand, is that it doesn't matter what size device it's on. Now, part of that is that every feature works on every device. So it doesn't matter what I show you in the browser on the left, just know that everything will work, whether it's on your phone or, again, on a big screen. Everything will work if you're on a touch screen versus using a mouse. Doesn't matter. That's what Transpara focuses on, is getting all of that right so that you don't have to worry about it. Okay. The third core concept to understand about the user experience is that it's alive. So as I'm going through the software, in fact, it just changed, you'll notice that I don't have to refresh the page to get more data or to see that something's changed. And it doesn't even refresh the page itself. Each individual object is talking to the data sources and does it in a very lightweight, fast way, and understands when things are changing. Now, some of that happens on a near real-time basis, like this trend that you see here, this SPC trend. This will move a little bit faster if the data is moving fast. If I'm looking at a group of objects, then it will also change live, but with a cache cycle, and it's cached for referential integrity. And so depending on how your administrator has set the cache cycle, whether it's 15 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever it is, those are going to change on that periodic basis, but still something usually measured in seconds. So that's what we like to call near real time. So the last core concept I'm going to go over before we dive into a detailed tour of the user interface is just the concept of a KPI. So most of the things here that you see with color on them, like this here or any of these objects up here, let me show you a few more. Any one of these blocks over here, anything in this list, these are KPIs. And many people have many different definitions for what a KPI is. And I think it's good right up here in the intro of this course to talk about our definition of a KPI, which is very easy to understand. Really, it means anything that you care enough to track that has expected behavior. So let's break that down. Anything you care enough to track, so that could be some manually entered value, it could be some high-speed machine data, it could be some finance number, it doesn't matter. You just care about it. The second half of that is that has expected behavior. That means it has some way for you to know if it's good or bad, or low or high, or various levels of good or bad, or not in service, or any other thing that you care about, so that we can give it status and meaning and color. So if I'm looking at the temperature outside, if I just want the number, but if I don't understand temperature, now most people do, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the pressure on a machine. Okay, somebody knows what good and bad pressure is, and that is a person who's trained in it. But if you want to give this data to anybody, you need to put in some limits so that when it crosses that, it changes color and changes status, so anybody can know, hey, the pressure in that thing is wrong, or something's going on, I need to call somebody, whatever it is. So very simple definition, anything you care about tracking that you can give some measure of expected behavior to, and therefore know if it's not doing what you expect. So that's it. We'll dive in next to a more detailed view of all the things you see on the screen here, give you a little tour of the user experience.